Thomas wiped his oil-stained hands on a worn rag. His small garage sat at the edge of Oakfield Village, where locals brought their broken cars and farm equipment. At 42, Thomas had spent most of his life fixing things, though his wallet remained as empty as his tiny flat above the garage. "Another slow day," he muttered, looking at the empty repair bay. The afternoon sun beat down on the dusty yard when a battered pickup truck rattled into view. A young woman stepped out, wearing muddy boots and simple work clothes. Her blonde hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and worry lines creased her forehead. "Hello," she said, approaching Thomas. "My water pump broke down. I need it fixed today if possible. The fields need watering." Thomas nodded and followed her to their truck. In the back sat an old irrigation pump, rusted and worn from years of use. "I can fix this," he said with a gentle smile, "but it might take a few hours. Is that all right?" The woman, who introduced herself as Emma, nodded gratefully. Wait, thank you." While Thomas worked, Emma sat quietly on a wooden stool. She watched his hands move with practiced skill, occasionally asking questions about the repair. "You're very good at this," she remarked. Thomas shrugged. "When you grow up with little, you learn to fix rather than replace. Been doing it since I was a boy." Emma stayed for the full 3 hours it took Thomas to fix the pump. She didn't mind the heat or the smell of oil and grease. She even helped him, holding parts and passing tools when he needed an extra hand. "Where's your farm?" Thomas asked as he cleaned a clogged pipe. "North of the village, the Bennett place," Emma replied. "My father and I grow grapes." Thomas nodded. He knew of the Bennett farm but had never been there. Most small farmers struggled these days, and he felt sorry for Emma and her father. "Do you work there alone with your father?" Thomas asked. "We have workers who help during busy times," Emma said, "but I like to handle the irrigation myself. The grapes need just the right amount of water." Thomas worked carefully, replacing worn parts and cleaning others. His hands knew exactly what to do after years of fixing all kinds of machines. The pump was old but well made. It just needed some care. "Almost done now," Thomas said after the 3rd hour. "Just need to test it." He connected the pump to a water source outside his garage and turned it on. The motor hummed smoothly, and water flowed through the pipes with good pressure. "Good as new," he said with pride. "Maybe better." Emma's face lit up with relief. "Thank you so much, Thomas. You've saved our crop. How much do I owe you?" Thomas thought for a moment. Normally he would charge £50 for parts and labor. But Emma looked worried about money, and he knew how hard farming could be. "Just £30 for the parts," he said. "Don't worry about the labor." Emma's eyes widened. "That's very kind, but your time is worth something." Thomas shook his head. "Happy to help a neighbor in need." Emma tried to argue, but Thomas wouldn't change his mind. She finally paid him the £30 and thanked him again. Together, they loaded the pump back into her truck. "If you ever need anything else fixed, just bring it by," Thomas said. Emma smiled warmly. "I will, and you must come visit our farm sometime. Father makes wine from our grapes. I'll save a bottle for you." Thomas watched as Emma drove away, feeling good about helping someone who needed it. He went back to his empty garage, not expecting much more business that day. The next morning, a shiny black Range Rover pulled up outside his garage. A tall, well-dressed older man with grey hair stepped out and walked toward Thomas. "Are you Thomas the mechanic?" the man asked in a deep voice. "Yes, sir. Can I help you?" Thomas replied, wiping his hands on his work shirt. "I'm William Bennett," the man said. "Emma's father. You fixed her water pump yesterday." Thomas felt worried. Had something gone wrong with the pump? "Is there a problem with it?" William smiled and shook his head. "Not at all. It's working perfectly, better than it has in years. Emma told me how kind you were and how little you charged her." "Just trying to help out," Thomas said. William's laugh filled the garage. "Well, I think there's been a small misunderstanding. We're not struggling farmers. The Bennett Vineyard covers 3,000 acres. We're one of the largest wine producers in the region." Thomas's mouth fell open. 3,000 acres! But Emma came in that old truck, and she was dressed so simply, sir. "That's my Emma," William said with pride. "Oxford educated, but prefers to get her hands dirty. She doesn't like to show off our wealth. She believes in honest work and treating people fairly." Thomas felt a bit foolish now for thinking they were poor farmers, but William didn't seem to mind. She speaks very highly of your skills, William continued. And that's why I'm here. We need a full-time mechanic at the vineyard to maintain all our equipment. The job pays twice what you likely make here, plus a cottage on the grounds. Would you be interested? Thomas could hardly believe what he was hearing. A steady job with good pay plus a place to live. It seemed too good to be true. Why me, he asked. Because Emma said you fixed that pump like a master, and you were honest when you could have charged more. That's exactly the kind of person we want working for. Us? Thomas ran a small garage in a quiet village. The work was hard, and money was tight, but he loved fixing things. One hot afternoon, a young woman named Emma brought in a broken water pump. Her clothes were dusty, and her hands showed the wear of farm work. She didn't complain about the heat or the oily smell in the garage. Instead, she helped Thomas, passing him tools and holding parts steady. "Where's your farm?" Thomas asked, cleaning the pump's filter. "North of the village," Emma said. "It's been in my family for years." Thomas nodded. He knew small farmers like Emma had a tough time competing with big companies. He decided to help her out. After 3 hours, the pump was working again. Thomas wiped it clean and loaded it onto her old truck. "How much do I owe you?" Emma asked, pulling out a worn wallet. "Just £30 for the parts," Thomas said. "No charge for the work." Emma looked surprised. "That's too kind. Your time is worth something." Thomas smiled. "Happy to help a neighbor." "Good. Luck with your crops." Emma thanked him warmly and drove off. Thomas watched her truck vanish down the dusty road, feeling good about helping someone, even if his own bank account was almost empty. He didn't know that his small act of kindness was about to change his life. The next morning, a shiny black Range Rover parked outside the garage. A well-dressed older man stepped out. His suit was sharp, and his shoes gleamed. He walked up to Thomas, who was wiping his hands on a rag. "Are you Thomas?" The man asked, his voice clear and polite. "Yes, that's me," Thomas said, suddenly nervous. "I'm Mr. Charles Hartley," the man said. "Emma's my daughter. She told me what you did for her yesterday. Not many people would work for free." Thomas shrugged. "She needed help, I didn't mind." Mr. Hartley smiled. "That's exactly why I'm here. I own a chain of car repair shops across the country. I'm looking for honest, skilled people to join my team. I'd like you to manage one of my shops in the city." Thomas blinked, stunned. "Manage a shop? Me?" "Yes," Mr. Hartley said. "I checked around. People in the village say you're the best mechanic they know. You're honest and you work hard. That's rare." Thomas's mind raced. His garage was barely staying afloat. Bills piled up at home, and he often worked late to make ends meet. A job like this could change everything. But leaving his village, his small garage, felt like a big step. "Can I think about it?" Thomas asked. "Of course," Mr. Hartley said, handing him a business card. "Call me by the end of the week. The job comes with good pay, benefits, and a chance to grow." That evening, Thomas sat at his kitchen table, staring at the card. His wife, Sarah, brought him a cup of tea. "What's on your mind?" she asked. Thomas told her about Mr. Hartley's offer. Sarah's eyes widened. "This could be our chance," she said. "No more worrying about bills. The kids could have new clothes, maybe even college someday." "But the garage," Thomas said. "It's all I've known." Sarah took his hand. "You'll still fix things. You'll just have more people to help, and you'll be home more. For us." Thomas thought about Emma and her farm. Helping her felt good, and maybe this job was his reward. He decided to take a chance. The next day, he called Mr. Hartley and accepted the job. A month later, Thomas stood in a clean, modern repair shop in the city. The tools were new, and a team of mechanics worked under him. At first, he felt out of place, but his skills shone through. He trained his team, fixed tough problems, and treated customers with the same kindness he showed Emma. The shop became one of Mr. Hartley's best. One day, Emma visited the shop. She looked happier, her farm doing better thanks to the working pump. "I heard you're the boss now," she said, smiling. Thomas laughed. "Something like that. How's the farm?" "Growing strong," Emma said. "I brought you something." She handed him a basket of fresh vegetables from her fields. "Thank you, Thomas. You didn't just fix my pump, you gave me hope." Thomas took the basket, his heart full. That evening he went home to Sarah and their 2 kids. The house was warmer now, with no overdue bills. The kids showed him their school projects, and Sarah talked about saving for a family vacation. Thomas felt proud, not just of his work but of the life he was building. Years later, Thomas ran several of Mr. Hartley's shops. He trained young mechanics, teaching them to be honest and kind. Emma's farm grew into a successful business, and she often sent Thomas vegetables as a thank you. Whenever Thomas passed his old village garage, now run by a young mechanic he'd mentored, he remembered the day he helped Emma. One small act of kindness had fixed more than a pump. It had rebuilt his future. Thomas stood in his small village garage, still reeling from the shiny Range Rover that had pulled up the day before. The man, Mr. Charles Hartley, had offered him a job managing a city repair shop. Thomas hadn't decided yet, but the idea of a better life for his family kept him awake at night. Now, another surprise was about to shake things up. A sleek silver car parked outside the garage. A tall man in a neat suit stepped out and walked toward Thomas, who was wiping grease from his hands. "Are you Thomas?" the man asked, his voice warm. "Yes, sir," Thomas said, nervous. "What can I do for you?" "I'm William Bennett," the man said, shaking Thomas's hand. "Emma's father. You fixed her water pump yesterday." Thomas's stomach dropped. Had something gone wrong? "Is the pump okay?" he asked. William smiled. "It's perfect. Emma told me how kind you were. You charged her almost nothing. I came to thank you." "Just helping out," Thomas said, shrugging. "I thought she was a small farmer. They have it tough." William laughed, the sound filling the garage. "Small farmer? There's a mix-up. Emma runs Bennett Vineyards, 3,000 acres of the best grapes in the county." Thomas's jaw dropped. 3,000 acres? But she drove an old truck and wore plain clothes. "Why, that's Emma," William said, his eyes proud. "She's Oxford-educated but works in the fields with our staff. She doesn't show off, even though our family's estate is old and wealthy." Thomas thought back to Emma's dusty boots, her easy smile, and how she handed him tools without complaint. He'd assumed she was struggling, like him. Now he felt a bit foolish. "She wants to offer you a job," William went on. "We need someone to maintain our vineyard equipment, tractors, pumps, everything. The pay is double what you make here, and you'd get a house on the estate." Thomas blinked, his mind spinning. "Why me?" Emma said, "You fixed that pump." "Better than anyone ever has," William said. "And you were honest when you could have charged more. We need someone like you." Thomas stood frozen. 2 job offers in 2 days. His garage barely kept him afloat. Bills stacked up at home, and his wife Sarah worried about their kids' future. This vineyard job sounded like a dream, but so did Mr. Hartley's city offer. He needed time to think. "Can I let you know soon?" Thomas asked. William nodded and handed him a card. "Call me in a few days. Come see the vineyard if you want." That evening, Thomas sat with Sarah at their small kitchen table. The kids were asleep, and the house was quiet. He told her about William's offer, then reminded her of Mr. Hartley's city job. Sarah listened, her eyes wide. 2 jobs, she said. "Thomas, this is a chance to change everything." "But which one?" Thomas asked. "The city job means managing a big shop, new tools, a team. The vineyard is quieter with a house for us. I'd fix machines and live close to nature." Sarah thought for a moment. "The vineyard sounds like you," she said. "You love fixing things and helping people. Plus, a house means no more rent." Thomas nodded but felt torn. The city job offered growth, maybe a bigger future. The vineyard felt safer, more like home. He decided to visit Bennett Vineyards before choosing. The next day, Thomas drove to the estate. Rolling hills stretched out, covered in neat rows of grapevines. Emma greeted him, her smile as warm as before. She showed him the equipment shed, tractors, irrigation pumps, and harvesters all needing care. The house for his family was small but cozy, with a view of the fields. "You'd fit in here," Emma said. "We're like a family. Everyone works together." Thomas liked the idea of a tight-knit team. He pictured his kids playing in the open fields, Sarah planting a garden. But he still thought about the city's fast pace and big opportunities. Back home, Thomas talked to Sarah again. "The vineyard feels right," he said, "but the city could mean more money long-term." Sarah squeezed his hand. "You always follow your heart, Thomas. It's why you helped Emma. What's it telling you now?" Thomas closed his eyes. He saw the vineyard's green hills, felt the calm of fixing machines for people who valued him. The city, Thomas's life had taken a surprising turn. After fixing Emma's water pump for almost nothing, her father, William Bennett, offered him a job at Bennett Vineyards. Thomas left his struggling village garage and moved his family to a cozy cottage on the estate. His new workshop was big, filled with shiny tools, a world away from his old, cramped space. For the first time in years, Thomas felt hope. Each morning, Thomas saw Emma walking through the vineyard, checking the grapevines and talking to workers. She wore simple clothes, her boots muddy, but her smile was bright. Sometimes she brought Thomas tea during his breaks. They chatted about village, gossip or the harvest, and Thomas admired her easy kindness. Despite her Oxford education and wealthy family, Emma treated everyone the same. Thomas learned Emma had studied agriculture, but came home after her mother's death to help run the vineyard. She worked hard, just like the staff, and never acted above anyone. Thomas respected her for that. He felt proud to be part of her team. As autumn neared, the vineyard grew busy. Workers prepared for the grape harvest, and Thomas kept the machines, tractors, harvesters, and pumps in top shape. He worked long hours, but the job felt good. At a staff dinner, William stood and raised a glass to Thomas. "You've saved countless thousands in repairs," William said. "Your work stopped delays that could have hurt our harvest." Thomas's cheeks turned red with pride and shyness. The vineyard workers clapped, and Emma smiled at him across the table. For the first time in years, Thomas felt valued, like he was part of something big. One evening, Thomas sat outside his cottage, watching the sunset paint the vineyard hills gold. The air smelled of grapes and earth. Emma walked up, her hands in her pockets. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked, sitting beside him. Thomas chuckled. "Just thinking how different life was a few months ago. I was scraping by, fixing whatever came to my garage. Now I'm here, with a home, good work, and a future." Emma nodded. "Life can surprise you sometimes." They sat quietly, watching the sky darken. Thomas felt grateful, but also curious. "Why do you work so hard?" he asked. "You could live easy with all this wealth." Emma looked at the vines. "This place is my family's heart. My mom loved it, and I want to keep it strong for her. Plus, I like the work, it's honest." Thomas understood. He loved fixing things, making them work again. It was honest, like Emma said. The next morning, a problem arose. One of the main harvesters broke down just as the harvest began. Workers gathered around, worried. Without it, they'd lose precious time. Thomas rushed to the machine, tools in hand. Emma joined him, passing wrenches and holding parts, just like she did in his old garage. "It's the gear system," Thomas said, peering inside. "The teeth are worn out." "Can you fix it?" Emma asked. Thomas nodded. "I'll need a few hours and a new part." Emma called a supplier while Thomas worked. By afternoon, the part arrived, and Thomas had the harvester running again. The workers cheered as it roared to life, and Emma hugged Thomas without thinking. "You saved the day," she said, laughing. Thomas grinned, wiping grease from his hands. "Just doing my job." That evening, William called Thomas to his office. "You're a blessing to this vineyard," he said. "I'm giving you a raise and a bonus for today's work." Thomas was stunned. "Thank you, sir. I'm just happy to help." At home, Thomas told Sarah about the raise. She hugged him tightly. "This is our new start," she said. Their kids, playing nearby, laughed louder than they had in years. The cottage felt like a real home now, with no bills looming. A few weeks later, Emma invited Thomas's family to the vineyard's harvest festival. The fields glowed with lanterns and tables overflowed with food and wine. Sarah and the kids danced with workers' families, and Thomas felt a warmth he hadn't known in ages. Emma found him watching the crowd. "Enjoying yourself?" she asked. "More than I can say," Thomas said. "This place, these people, it's like family." Emma smiled. "You're one of us now." As winter came, Thomas settled into his role. He trained a young worker to help in the workshop, passing on his skills. The vineyard thrived, and so did Thomas's family. Sarah started a small baking business, selling bread to the estate staff. The kids talked about college, dreams that now seemed possible. Years later, Thomas was head of maintenance at Vineyards. His hair had grayed, but his hands were still steady. Emma ran the estate with William, and they often shared tea with Thomas, laughing about old times. The village garage was long gone, but Thomas's kindness lived on in every machine he fixed and every person he helped. He thought often of that day with Emma's pump. One small act had grown into a life he never dreamed of, proving kindness could build a future as strong as any vineyard. Winter wrapped the Bennett vineyards in a quiet chill, but Thomas's heart was warm. He was no longer just the village mechanic scraping by. At the vineyard, he was family. He joined Sunday dinners with Emma, William, and the staff, laughing over plates of roast and wine. During Christmas, he helped hang lights on the estates, old stone buildings, feeling like he belonged. His wife Sarah and their kids settled happily in their cottage, and life felt full. When spring bloomed, Emma found Thomas in his workshop, fixing a tractor. Her boots crunched on the gravel as she approached. "Father and I have an idea," she said. "We want to grow the maintenance team and make you the supervisor. You'd train 3 apprentices from the local college." Thomas paused, surprised. "Me? A supervisor?" Emma nodded. "You're patient and skilled. You can teach young people, give them a chance, like we gave you." Thomas thought of his own youth, when money was tight and a kind mechanic taught him the trade. That mentor changed his life. Now he could do the same. "I'd be honored," he said. That summer, 3 apprentices arrived at the vineyard. There was Lily, shy but curious, Ben, eager but clumsy, and Sam, quiet but quick to learn. Thomas welcomed them to his workshop, its shelves neat with tools. He taught them how to fix pumps, tune engines, and care for machines. When Ben dropped a wrench or Lily mixed up parts, Thomas stayed calm, guiding them with a steady hand. "You'll get it," he told them. "Just keep trying." The apprentices grew confident under Thomas's care. Lily learned to repair irrigation systems. Ben mastered tractor engines. Sam could fix a harvester faster than anyone. Thomas felt proud, like a father watching his kids grow. One day, a crisis hit. A big irrigation pump failed just before a dry spell. Without it, the grapevines could suffer. Thomas and the apprentices worked late, sweat on their brows. Sam spotted a broken valve and Lily suggested a fix. Ben ran for parts. Together they got the pump running by midnight. The next day Emma hugged them all. "You saved the vines," she said. "Thomas, your team is amazing." Thomas grinned, but gave credit to the apprentices. "They did the hard work," he said. That evening the vineyard held its harvest festival. Lanterns glowed across the fields and music filled the air. Tables groaned with food. Bread from Sarah's new bakery, cheeses, and the vineyard's best wine. Thomas stood with Emma, watching workers and their families dance under the stars. "Did you ever think a broken pump would change your life?" Emma asked, her eyes twinkling. Thomas shook his head. "Never, but it wasn't the pump, was it? It was kindness. Yours, your father's, and maybe mine." Emma smiled. "You helped me that day, not knowing who I was. You asked for nothing." "That's rare, Thomas. Goodness like that deserves a reward." Thomas looked at the festival, the glowing lights, the happy faces. He thought of his old garage where he'd worried about bills. Now he had a home, a purpose, and a team he'd trained. Wealth wasn't just money or land, he realized. It was people, trust, and kindness. The apprentices joined them, laughing. Lily thanked Thomas for teaching her. Ben said he'd landed a job at a nearby farm, thanks to his skills. Sam, usually quiet, spoke up. "You're like my dad," he said. "You believed in me." Thomas's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say, so he just smiled. As the festival ended, William called Thomas over. "You've done more than fix machines," he said. "You've built a team and inspired people. I'm starting a scholarship for young mechanics and I want your name on it." Thomas was stunned. "A scholarship? For me?" "For the kids you'll help," William said. "Kids like you were, who need a chance." Thomas agreed, humbled. The Thomas Bennett Scholarship would send young people to technical college, giving them skills and hope. Sarah hugged him when he told her, tears in her eyes. "You're leaving a mark," she said. Years later, Thomas was grey-haired but still strong, running the vineyard's maintenance team. His apprentices had moved on. Lily ran her own repair shop. Ben worked on a big farm, and Sam taught at the college. The scholarship helped dozens of kids, many of whom visited Thomas to say thanks. Emma and William, now older, relied on Thomas as a friend and leader. Sarah's bakery thrived, and their kids were in college, chasing big dreams. Thomas often sat outside his cottage, watching the Vineyards hills. He thought of that hot day when Emma brought her broken pump. One kind act had sparked a journey from a struggling mechanic to a teacher, friend, and hero to many. Kindness, he knew, was a seed that grew forever, lighting up lives like lanterns in the vineyard night.